Have you ever wondered who decides the price of this car? Is it the company that makes it? Is it the government? Is it me? Or is it you? Or is it something else totally? In economics, this concept is called the market equilibrium. Hi friends, welcome to Econverse. I'm Abrar and I'm a fellow student who topped in Oman in GCSE Economics last year. And on this channel, we make learning economics simpler, clearer, and hopefully a lot more fun. In this video, we're going to be looking at market equilibrium. Yes, that's right. We're going to be looking at market equilibrium. So what does that mean? Now, in the last two videos, which I'll attach in the description if you'd like to check out, are based on demand and supply. So we saw how consumers behave in a market. We saw how producers behave in a market. But how does that even work? How do they come together? That exactly is the whole of market equilibrium. So the whole of this topic discusses the different circumstances that can occur in a market. So let's start by, I want you to try and recall the diagrams if possible. So let me show it for you. So essentially, on the diagram, you have demand, which is a downward sloping curve, and you have supply, which is an upward sloping curve. Now, this is essentially how market equilibrium functions. You put both demand and supply on a single diagram. And this particular point right here, guys, this is where the magic happens. This is where demand equals supply. And this is what you call in economics an equilibrium point. So this equilibrium point is where you have equilibrium quantity, QE. My bad about not labeling. I think you should label your curves in exams. And you have price equilibrium. At this point is wherein at this particular price, the quantity demanded equals the quantity supplied. So, how exactly does it happen? How does that happen? That happens through something which we covered in the videos before called price mechanism. Now, the price mechanism is basically the interaction of demand and supply. So basically, how the prices are determined in a market is basically through the negotiations between buyers and sellers, between demand and supply. Now, let me show you two interesting scenarios. Now, there are two cases of market disequilibrium that we'll be looking at. So this is when the quantity demanded doesn't equal the quantity supplied. So firstly, you have a surplus scenario. Secondly, you have a shortage scenario. So let's start by the surplus scenario. Let's start off by drawing another demand curve. So essentially, this is something you'll be doing for a lot of your life. Moving on, if you do economics further, you're going to see so many diagrams. So many times you're going to be drawing those demand and supply curves. So you have a demand, you have a supply, always label them, label quantity and label price. So I want you to look at, for example, there is this particular price level in an economy. That is now a state of disequilibrium. Let me show you how. So you have supply at this level. This is your quantity supplied, QS. And at this level is where you have quantity demanded. So if you notice here, there's a huge gap. This whole triangle reflects the gap between demand and supply. So it shows the disequilibrium. So the whole role of the price mechanism or the interaction between demand and supply functions like this. So, whenever there is a disequilibrium in a market, I want you to try and recall the functions of price mechanism, which I'll attach in the description video in the description below, wherein there's a video on the whole of price mechanism. So there are three main functions of the price mechanism: the incentive function, the signaling function, and the rationing function. So that's where all these three functions come together essentially. So the price mechanism shows, it highlights this particular part of the market as something that is in disequilibrium, and it provides an incentive for demand to increase if the price. See, there are two ways that this could be solved. Either the demand should increase or the supply should decrease. So it either gives an incentive to consumers to move their demand up there, or it gives firms an incentive to move the supply down there. So either your supply moves there or your demand moves there. Now, those are the two ways that it could ration it out. And there is one another key way through which the price mechanism rations things out, and that is through a fall in the prices. So whenever there's a disequilibrium, the prices are going to change. So this is probably the most feasible way in the short run. The prices decrease, because of which demand increases and supply decreases, and both of them come to meet at equilibrium. So the price mechanism plays a key role in bringing demand and supply to that one equilibrium point. Now, this is one of those cases. Now, the other case is something you call a shortage. So, a shortage, let's start by labeling again. So, you have your price on the upper hand, and you have quantity. You have a demand curve labeled D, and you have a supply curve labeled S. Now, I want you to think about this. First, try taking a guess where you think the price would be. And now look at this. This is the price level. What do we see here? First things first, we see that the demand is here. But in this case, the supply is too low at that particular price. This now creates a major chunk of disequilibrium again in the market. Now, what has happened in this scenario is that demand is greater than supply. Yet again, the price mechanism comes in, like the police do in cases of accidents, like ambulances do. The price mechanism functions as a way to solve the market disequilibrium. What it does is it signals that firstly there is a disequilibrium in the market. It then provides incentives to firms to either increase their supply or for consumers to decrease their demand. Now, these are two possible situations that can happen in the long run. They take time. There is another thing that could happen in the short run, and just like last time, it is a change in the price level. So the prices could increase, driving supply upwards and demand downwards. So demand decreases and supply increases, leading to equilibrium. So now we've looked at market equilibrium and how the price mechanism plays a key role in ensuring market equilibrium. If you thought this video helped you understand economics better, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to join the Econverse. I'll see you in the next week.